Welcome, everybody, to the Scituate Council on Aging Board meeting, and we are officially beginning the meeting at 5:10 p. Oh,
I put 5:08, but
5:08 p.m. Okay, we'll be very exact. So why don't we just start off by going around the room and introducing ourselves. And I am Susan Drevich Kelly, the Vice Chair of the Board.
Linda Hayes Kelly, Director of the Senior Center.
Kelly Walsh, Outreach Coordinator.
I'm Breaking Cycle, Erica Soros, Manager of Social Services for Scituate.
Susan Pope, Board Member.
Laurie Brady, Board Member.
Kenzie Vanderberg, on behalf of South Shore Elder Services.
Russ Paulin, Board Member.
Pat Fountain, Board Member.
Thank you all, and thank you, Pat, for being our recording secretary. We're missing a few people. Dee is sick, and JD is floating around somewhere in Utah.
Okay.
And we're missing Leslie. So, why doesn't everyone take a few minutes to look at the February minutes? And thank you, Laurie, for preparing. Any additions or corrections or revisions?
Was Jesse here last month?
No.
Oh, okay.
Move that we accept the minutes.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Do we want to start with, I guess, since there's two, do you want to start with your?
Yeah, I might as well start, I guess we talked about that, so we are happy to have Erica with us tonight, Manager of Social Services for the town, as you know, and Kelly, our staff guest, since they are for outreach, so they work as a team quite often, so that was a nice opportunity for them both to be here. But I'll give a brief report first, and then we can give the floor to them. And certainly there's been a lot going on. We still, for the month of February, a short month, we still had 45 new members register, and frankly still have people walking in every single day, at least one, if not more, registering and signing up. Somebody recently put out an email to the local directors just to see what we called our people, our patrons, which really is how I responded. I mean, what do we call our seniors? So I don't have any problem, and some people are very happy this is the senior center, and they're happy to be called the seniors, or our seniors. But members, which some of our staff and volunteers do call them members, because they talk about the fact, well, are you a member yet when they walk in, or do you want to, we would say, register to become a participant, so they certainly could be participants, patrons. So there are, and there were a lot of responses, people that feel one way or the other. Some, sure, it's just anything. Some don't use the word members because they feel it sounds exclusive.
I like the word clients, which sounds.
Clients,
really-
which we have, but yes, that's not,
Yeah.
doesn't really encompass everyone. So it was an interesting, it was interesting. Patrons or participants is a lot of the times what I would call them. I would ask someone if they were registered with us yet, but it isn't membership, it's just a word to indicate that they are in the system, honestly. So I don't know if anyone has, it's food for thought if we have a feeling one way or the other about what we wouldn't use, but basically it's all good. And again, if we do say the seniors, honestly, some people say, oh, they're the seniors, they're our seniors, and there are certainly centers that stay away from it, and there are centers that embrace it, so I think it's just kind of funny. I think ours has been very flexible on taking care.
Participants sounds, participants sounds like a
Participants, yeah.
big umbrella.
Yep.
It's got
Anyway,
many
so
syllables
45
in it.
new. And you know, oftentimes we'll get people signed up, but that doesn't mean they become active right away. So even when we run this report, we have to say no activity in their records yet. Or they might sign on and that's immediately what they become as participants. Okay, so there's different factions. We also have, so tax work-off is getting going here. So we have 23, as far as I know, of the 24 from last year in the tax work-off program returning. And so we have new applicants, we have some candidates that we hadn't filled from last year either. So we certainly have a stack I am looking at trying to place or come up with, other positions for. And should we be able to do that for more than 6 or 7, then the town would consider raising it from 30 right now. That's been a lot, we've never gone that high, I think 28 was the highest that I'd actually
So 30 was
placed
sort
in
of
the pace,
number.
but right now 30 is the number. So there's some work to do there. Continued, actually maybe a little increased use of the building, it seems lately, but the evening use, we've had a couple of films at night because we do the Sister City Film Festival for them. So one French, one Cape Verde last week, and then the Irish Sister City is actually in April on the 10th, I think. And they're showing The Commitments, that's a great movie, so that could be fun. And I think no subtitles, because it is a drawback here that when the subtitles and they're on the bottom, we looked for a way to raise them. All we could do was make them bigger, which does take up a lot of the screen. So it's unfortunate the way we are just flat and the chairs, sometimes people in the back can't see the subtitles because heads are in the way. So that's been a problem. But anyway, so far that is nice. That's a nice thing to be able to do. A couple of committees, Mordecai Lincoln meets regularly here and Waterways Commission meets regularly here. We've got the parade committee meeting for the time being. Parade is this week, of course, most people know. And the AARP tax preparation is in full swing, so as you know, 2 days a week, and I could not believe the number of people. It looked like it was quite the lineup. I feel badly that it's just sort of chairs in the hallway side by side. It's too bad we don't
You
have
should have
more
snacks.
comfortable, we could have snacks.
A new role for outreach, right?
I mean, they're here for a couple of hours and they're good natured, but that's a lot.
I used TurboTax and it said estimated 40 minutes. It took me 4 hours and a half.
Where was this?
TurboTax on
Turbo.
You were doing it yourself,
Yeah,
so it just,
but the
Oh my
40
God.
minutes.
can they estimate how long it's gonna take you to input the data?
Yeah, how old are you?
So we did replace, had to get a new microphone and get a new leveler. We use a portable speaker right now in the Peggotty room, mostly for Bob Jackman, who does the back-to-back history classes 2 in 1 day, and his voice is, he needed some amplification, he needed some help. So luckily we'd had this portable speaker that we got thinking we'd use it outside or on trips or different things like that. Now it's been stationed in the Peggotty room. Then we have another instructor who really kind of needed amplification as well, but he didn't want to hold the microphone. So now we've got a leveler as well, so we spent a little money because the first microphone had broken. Bottom line is I also asked for and got a quote for putting, we don't have them in this room either, but the speaker system downstairs in the Egypt room where they're in the ceiling. And the fitness room also are in the ceiling, and that's a little bit overkill because, the music is nice, but that's all we do in there is really the music. So I'd like to put the ceiling speakers in there, and so what would happen is instead of the that sound bar on the top of the TV, it would be funneled into the ceiling speakers. But the problem was that there was no microphone amplification. There was just the video amplification through there, which this has. Anyway, so it came in as $13,000, which is probably more than we need. But I was afraid I would have to get bids, but I don't because they are part of the state system. But at the same time, I am going to go back and just say, well, Mike seems to think we could probably do with a couple less speakers and not as much as they're providing, because they really do over-engineer things. So I could probably get that down.
And can't they give us a senior citizen discount?
They do not do that.
I ask all the
Not
time
for
now.
them, not for
I'm
them.
not proud.
But I'll tell you what, the other problem is cable got, I meant to check it again, cable, the men's game night is here, and they come to watch a game along with playing pool and whatnot, and they couldn't watch the game. Well, I didn't know this. It was on our January bill, maybe that Nesson was no longer on the basic service, but is now a premium service. And along with that, at the same time, our subscription, our contract or whatever might have run out. So basically, they just write that in the bill, which I didn't see. So they raised the prices, they took off Nesson, and we were back to getting some other kind of service. So anyway, we're trying to change that, and I am going to try to get Nesson without having to go to premium, because, I mean, honestly, the only reason to have cable is sports really here. I mean, occasionally there might be some news, but I don't know. So we'll see about that. And I'm not done, because it was a painful conversation once, and we'll have to keep asking.
Did you actually get a human being?
I got a human being, a young salesperson, you know, who has his training, you know, for trying to get people to take as much as he can talk them into, so, I mean.
Just even getting
And we
a
don't
human being is a challenge.
And what we do get through the town is we have 4 cable boxes, we only pay for 1. And we get basic service for free, and we get 3 cable boxes for free. I mean, that's good, that's nice. We pay for internet service. Basically, we pay for internet service for the patrons, for the public. We don't need it because we're connected to the network. So for any of the instructors that might come in and need to go out for wireless service, and or any patrons using their phones or using their laptops or iPads, that's really
And some
what
of
we
the
pay for.
presenters, I know,
The presenters.
yeah.
So anyway, that's in the works. The artwork's been great. We hung some of Judy Rossman's work up here. It was about time I asked really, and she had enough to go on the wall, and it looks very nice. So she's our painting drawing instructor right now. So that'll be there until we do have the middle school students coming in mid-ish May 20th actually, just through June 10th, I believe. So then she'll have to come down and they'll come in. And also in April downstairs, Bart's work will end March 27th, and the high school comes in March 28th, so that's nice.
His work is just
Yeah,
amazing.
I think everybody's liked it, but we say that every time,
Yeah.
so it's very nice.
Yeah.
You know, I do wanna give a little shout out to our facilities team and our custodian, you know, probably specifically Jim, because it's almost the end of the winter and just the walkway, I mean, it's all melted now, but this was a long-ish kind of winter for the clearing they had to do and the ice they had to worry about, and they really did a tremendous job taking good care of everybody.
It was excellent.
It really was, considering that it was
It
pretty
would
bad.
set up and then no.
Yeah. Yeah,
Well, I
it kept-
saw him
it
out
kept
there
coming.
doing that well, actually, the day that we had the Valentine's
Yeah.
Well,
jazz
that is
punch.
part of what I was
He was
thinking.
out there,
That's heavy.
and it was
It was
heavy
heavy.
snow, he was using a snow blower, he was all, I mean,
And
the
so they would
wind
do
was
that, they had
blowing.
done that even, I think it might have been Martin Luther King Day, you know, it was a holiday, but they get called in at like 6:30 in the morning to do all that clearing, but yeah, he saved us that day
Yeah.
too. So no, they had done a great job. We've had some outdoor lighting issues, there's a street light down that they have figured out or fixed. The outdoor lights had to be looked at, the kitchen HVAC fan had to be updated, in fact, a part they were waiting for has finally been replaced. We've had elevator, annual service, fire alarm annual service, and something else that was happening that was really that was Verizon, but our alarm kept going off, that goes to the fire department, and it was a big problem, but that's been resolved as well.
Wow.
Social day program, no changes, no movement whatsoever,
So
we
you
just
still-
got happy people.
You still have a waiting list? or-
We do have a waiting list, but a lot of good, yeah, we can't do anything about it just yet, we have some ideas. Our Sunday brunch, since you brought that up, certainly was a great success considering the weather, because we would have had 85 people and instead we had 65 people. And I blame myself a little bit, the snow was a factor, but I heard from 3 couples that they forgot. And had I sent maybe a voice a broadcast or something, just saying, we're on, then they would have remembered naturally, but, they had to pay. That was the good thing, we did have to pay ahead. So anyway, so it wasn't bad, 65, mostly it was the kitchen. And the other thing I should have done that we didn't think to do was clear for a dance floor
Yeah,
after
everybody
the
else
meal
to
was
dance.
cleared,
Mm.
which
Yeah.
would have been great, because they would have danced and we just didn't leave room.
Well,
Some were kind of just doing it on the outside. Russ's wife for one. She's made some requests now, so I hope you're ready for that.
Yeah, we're
Dancing
bringing-
requests.
We're bringing dance to the senior center.
I mentioned the parade as well, which is this Sunday, so I would love more company. Susan's busy, so we have the van, we have Joe driving the van, we might have his grandson with us, we have a few people riding on the van that I know of, and at least one or two walking, so if anyone else is interested. It's quick, we're behind the Brown Brothers unless somehow
What number are
they
you?
miss us, we are number 14.
Oh, wow, you got premium.
Well, we are usually around, we are usually.
I know
at the
you
beginning.
probably know someone.
But also this time, so he's got more units, he says, than ever, so he just
Yeah,
didn't
like
was
we're,
putting people.
St. Mary's is number 26 out of 118.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's still not bad, but we also, we had to squeeze in, a woman that does come here, and she has one of those, what's it called, it's 3-wheeled.
Oh, does she the one that dresses as Batman?
No, it's
Oh.
just like that though,
Oh, that
it begins
woman.
with an S, it's like a skidoo, but nice.
Segway?
Hmm?
What's it called?
Not a Segway,
Not a Segway, that's stand-up,
a
anyway,
tricycle.
why would I
That
bother
was
to
my
mention it
guess.
if now I'm embarrassed, I can't remember, she just told me.
Is it like a motorcycle that looks like a tricycle?
It's a motorcycle that looks almost like a little teeny car, but yes, it's 3 wheels, big wheels. So she's behind us, cause that's where he could put her, so
Oh,
that would be
goodness
fun.
gracious. Yeah, it's really great if anyone on the board wants to, represent us behind the senior center and you get your steps in.
Mhm.
That's the way I look at it.
So, and I did attend the FOSS at a general meeting, which I went to and was able to make some suggestions, and they do, as Elaine has already mentioned in an email, because Elaine couldn't get here tonight, they are planning a
That's what-
function, a theater performance in May, on May 30th, which is a
Right.
Friday afternoon.
I
So
forget
we'll
what the
cancel the
name of
movie
it-
that day.
I know, I was looking for, that's why I was looking in my phone. For some reason, I can't find that email that you sent.
Something about nuns,
Yeah, it's none this, none that, or
None.
so,
none of this and none of that.
none of this and none of that, but it's N-U-N.
Well, I requested the Lizzie Borden one, so anyway, but,
So
so
we
that's
got
just
nuns.
something that they are gearing up to do, and that's fine with us. So, on a slightly less happy note, Jess Suki has left the employee of the town and the senior center, so she's not with us anymore, and many of you may know that, but some may not. We do plan to repost the position, but have not rushed into it just yet. So Gail, however, has already, she's been here since January 27th. She has taken on the activities role, which she has embraced, and did pick up and complete the newsletter back in February, which, that was one of her strengths anyways, that she was coming in really being able to work in many of the different media that we might need. And so she did, she could, it was a lot on her, and she did work a lot of extra hours to get that out. It was great, and I'm sure you've seen it, so obviously it was already having improved a great deal, but she was just able to do what she does.
We should be sending out, emails,
You mean the constant contacts?
yeah.
Well, I've been doing those, and yes, I do expect that probably I will, turn those over to her when she has an opening
Yeah,
in
when
her
she has to.
schedule. Yes, there's that, there's also the video board downstairs that we try to run with PowerPoint slides, just with what's happening today, or this week, or what's coming up. And she's got ideas for that, we actually sat in on a quick little training thing, cause I've done what I could, and it's, it's PowerPoint, so it's a slideshow. But there's more you can do, you could show videos, we could do more with graphics, we could do more with photos, and we could do some audio, although it is the front desk, so it's hard to say. So anyway, yes, there will be some more of that.
What was the email that you mentioned before that?
Oh, the constant contact.
Contact.
Well, you get it.
It's a vendor that
Well, the
provides-
constant contact is simply the marketing piece of software, but it goes out from us, from me or the Scituate Council on Aging and Senior Center, and it usually gives you updates.
Oh,
So it
okay.
has kind of a background, and it's just some stuff that just to remind you, or maybe
Yeah.
there's some updates or
I
changes.
like it.
You know, it's a-
Everybody seems to, and
It's
it's a
really
good thing. I'm just not as regular as would be nice.
I like even lately, Jill's been sending things out.
Okay, well,
I don't mind a reminder.
it's a little broadcast email or
Yeah,
text,
and
yeah.
today, how Phil, are you definite, because I do the trips with Gail?
Yes,
How definite are you about the Art and Bloom? Because there must be
Yes.
people asking and it must be filled.
Yeah.
That's great. So see the ones that they're really confirmed, and then we can judge what we're at instead of guessing, is this one gonna show up with the money or what? You know, it's a good feature.
well, that is certainly the other thing that she jumped into readily, and so out of 4 trips, one of which you had already planned with the other senior centers, but also 3 different van trips, which, so we're reprising the one with Art and Bloom, which Susan had done before, and 2 others.
I have a question about your success with getting people to pay up front for the brunch.
The brunch.
Has it encouraged you to do that for some of the other things, like the trips, for example, then it would be paid for?
Well, the trips do have to pay up front,
Okay.
whether they have to pay
It's
like
hard, though.
immediately or it's a
That's a
little hard.
problem, you know, working on it.
Yeah.
But it's, being nice kinda doesn't work.
Right,
It's gotta be in
Yeah.
hand, you know, because,
Yeah.
she's trying, getting the tickets in advance, we never
Mhm.
did that, we waited, and then we, got the numbers and a good portion of the money, then you'd make your move. And sometimes you can be too late, you know, for certain things.
absolutely, it sounded that way.
And miss out like on a guide that you get
Mhm.
for free, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's better to, and plus you wanna plan, you know?
Well, I was a little surprised at how fast they filled up, which they did, so.
And yeah, I mean, and to Kenzie's point, I mean, really, I mean, the people paid, I mean, they didn't have a problem with that at all.
They did not have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, it seemed like it worked really well.
It
And
We've
we had
talked about-
people who weren't able to go because of the snow or whatever,
Yes.
and you didn't get a lot of complaints, right?
We didn't get a lot of complaints.
Yeah, so, I mean.
Which was nice, we still had, we had things to pay for, and that's why we.
And everything that you do with the rec department, you have to pay up
Yeah,
front.
yeah.
There's no question. So whether you go or not, you've already paid for it, you know, and that gives them some stability,
Sure.
enabling them to pay for the people who are teaching the classes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, we certainly probably are talking about that. We are getting some other money up front for some programs because of the wallet idea.
Right.
And then lunch is the biggest problem child there, problem program. It's, we could ask for the money up front, but in a way, most pay by cash anyway, which is fine. I just don't know yet, we really haven't imposed that, because there's always a reason that you
Right.
feel a little badly about.
Isn't
Have you
there
ever
a,
had anyone come in and
there's a s-
say, I forgot my money, can I still have
Oh,
lunch?
sure, yes, and yes.
isn't there, I believe we talked about a software addition that you can put on to be able to take payments via credit card and so forth?
Yes. I mean, there is something now, it's just been minimal because it hasn't included all the programs that it could, and that's the update we've been talking about trying to make, it has not happened yet. But even lunch, even for that, well, they could pay ahead for a certain number of lunches, and that's been one thing we talked about.
Yeah, like a punch card.
Yes, like a punch card, so that would, so, in the works, I'd like to say yes. So, that's really it for me, it's been busy and just a lot of things happening, and trying to support, the positions and the volunteers. So otherwise, and Gail did do, I just asked her to put together some bulleted items for her first report, she didn't have to, you know, come up with all the statistics, she hasn't maybe been shown all of the nuances yet of my senior center. So she did do a lovely sort of narrative, so good reading for afterwards if you don't have time to read it right away. But she did touch on all the things she has been doing for 20 days, and in particular, things are being planned already now for May and even June. So just trying to get ahead of that and then to get her back into the newsletter and some of the other media publications and whatnot. She's doing flyers. The high school is still offering to do some flyers, which we've asked them to do. And we still have young Sydney, the high school student, doing some of the social media postings for us, which is very helpful as well.
Just
Yeah.
one of the questions I had, I was really curious on the Rick Small's religion seminars. How is that going? Is that being?
It's been well received, and people have asked him to do something else when he's finished. So he went through 5 weeks, and now this is sort of part 2, which is 6 weeks, and he was doing, and he was kind of reviewing his first 5 weeks on the first session, so then I think it was today. I don't know right now if all the same people continued for the 6 weeks. I don't know that. But I think many have, or at least people who have are really enjoying it.
It's sort of interesting, the timing on it, because the second part is coming during Lent. So I was just sort of curious, like how many people, would be interested in.
People could still come in
Yeah.
and sit in. It's
Yeah,
actually,
which I
there's
had
been
to
no
do.
cost, which was very nice of him for 12
Wow.
weeks. He did want people to make a donation if they were attending, and certainly they've been asked, and I don't know who has or hasn't, it doesn't really matter. So anyone could drop in and just sit through one. I don't know what his outline is. I think he deals with a certain religion each week. We do have something else coming up that's, not to say a follow-up, but a man had asked to also make a presentation on Palestine and Israel and what the US should do from his perspective as a Muslim, in fact. And he has done these talks elsewhere. He lives in Scituate, so we certainly wanted to give him an opportunity. We had Mike Quinlan do it back in December. So anyway, it should be great. That is March 28th, and he does already have a pretty good sign-up. In the spring trips, Gail talks about in her report as well, if anyone is interested. And I said they were, 3 spots remaining in the Art and Bloom. And it was her idea to do the March 30th on a Sunday, which is, sure. Maybe I'll go. Maybe she'll. Anyway, it's filled. So either we need a second band or anyone else could drive themselves.
But that's the only time it was offered.
That particular film on Poets and Lovers, it's called it, I'll go. And then also tomorrow, just to reiterate here while I'm here, tomorrow, Friday afternoon at 1:30 is an hour of Irish music with a couple of musicians that I know of. Stuart Peake in particular does the Irish sessions up at Tinker's Son every Wednesday night, and he's been around for a long time. He plays a nice guitar and banjo, and the other person coming with him is a soloist and I think also an instrumental musician, so it should be fun. There'll be refreshments and Irish
Yeah,
music.
I just have one other thing. So Kelly, I know you're gonna give your report, but I was just curious because it's mentioned here about the community engagement. Could you do the newcomer
I do, yes.
meet and greet? So how is that going? Because I know that was like a new concept. I thought it was a great idea, so.
It is good. It, it doesn't, we don't get like 20 people at a time, but when we do get people, it lasts a whole hour. We're very engaged. I love touring the building with them. Then we sit down, I pass out the newsletters, I sign them up if they're not signed up, if they want to be signed up. And sit and have coffee, ask where they're from, and they engage with the other people that are in the group. So it really has, it's fun for me. I love it.
How do people find out about it? Or are you like trying to find out who new people are that are moving into the town?
In the newsletter, for one. It is on our bulletin boards, and, we try to get it to the housing authorities and the post office.
So the other thing I was gonna say is, just as an idea, we have all these people that are moving into Seaside.
Yeah.
Like that whole community, which obviously they donated money last year, I
They
think.
did.
So, I mean, it's just an idea, if you had a flyer, flyers or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think they have a community center or whatever. Maybe, reaching out to those kinds of organizations
absolutely.
because those would, for the most part, might be new people moving into town.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think it's a great idea.
I'm open to whatever, and, and even if, weather-wise we had to cancel one, we then did a makeup that month, and people
Yeah.
were thankful for that. And I'll even do private, tours if someone, couldn't make it for whatever reason, and they really want to come in and learn about, what we offer here.
The truth is, we would do tours on the fly. I mean, anybody who comes in that
Yeah.
seems to maybe need a little extra information, I do it.
It's just, it's that whole idea of breaking the barrier
Yeah.
with people
Oh,
saying,
absolutely.
oh, senior center, that's not
It's
me.
been definitely helpful for residents that I work with, you know, who are isolated and anxious. I mean, it takes some convincing, but Kelly
Yeah.
has.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
it was a good idea.
I wish it was going on when I moved here.
Is there still a newcomers? The Chamber of Commerce still do newcomer packets?
There was someone, and JD used to help out a lot with
I
getting
got
our
one.
information into those packets that were being given out. I'm not even sure it was the
I
chamber.
got one of those
Oh,
packets.
Lisa, that?
Yes, yeah. But we could,
I got a fly swatter.
Wow.
I think we could expand
Did
it
you-
sometime and
did you
do a
get one?
newcomers, evening thing or just something more
You know, like maybe coffee and, like a coffee
for breakfast, yeah.
clutch or
Yeah.
something like that.
Could be. So just a last, the transportation report, I do point out, I mean, the numbers, although a little less than January, I guess, which is kind of surprising. The medical rides are really up both out of town
Oops, sorry.
and in town. If you notice those numbers from January were only 18 and 112 versus 34 and 118 and 52 on Community Action Council. And then also, I think the rides coming here to the senior center have certainly increased. People are using it that do not drive and do want to come.
That's great.
So I think that's been a really noticeable improvement change for the van service. Now, we do, and Stephanie does make appointments or rides, schedules rides with the GATRA on demand. She does it for people. We are finding, that's great and that's been nice, but we are finding that with some individuals, it would be easier if we were managing the rides, and even though she's doing that and can communicate with the driver, even for that matter, and dispatch. Some who are, sort of becoming a little less independent, it's a little hard to farm it out and still know what's happening for them if they ask, because they do. So those are some issues that we're looking at for people who have needed van service, but how do we help? So I know we have companion riders for the van for some of the medical rides in the supermarket, but it does seem that we might need them more often. But otherwise, everything is great, and she says we do have a new driver who hasn't started driving yet, but I might have mentioned it last time. But we're gonna give him Mondays when he's back from vacation. So that is it, and I can turn it over then to both Kelly and Erica
Take it away,
for
Kelly.
outreach.
Mine won't be that long, but, so I've been in the outreach position for probably about a year and 4 or 5 months maybe now. Love it. It's very broad. I will say I'm kind of all over the place with the various needs that people are coming up with. I kind of say to everyone, if, I will try and find an answer. If I can't find, if I don't know it, I will find the answer for you, and kind of make that a little bit of my go-to. So I think that has spread around a little bit, because
Now everyone's coming to you with everything.
oh, they are, yeah, and I am
We
like,
came up with, we were joking,
Yeah.
but we came up with a list of things that Kelly does, and
That aren't in this list
oh,
specifically.
it's
yeah,
pretty
like, I was
fast
like,
going.
oh,
Miscellaneous.
forgot about that.
yep.
So, very enjoyable, though. I feel that it, definitely is a role that is needed here in Scituate. I collaborate, with Erica all the time, and Samantha, who's on the grant-funded position in the Cohasset program, work really well with the Housing Authority, probably speak to them on a weekly basis. Going back and forth with people that are on the waiting list there or have needs, and also with Cullen, who has been a great resource for our Housing Authority residents, as well as I will say, I didn't know how much Mary Ellen actually did with South Shore Elder Services at Lincoln Park and Wheeler Park. So she is there 2 days a week, and she's in Braintree 2 days a week, and it is amazing the things that she offers, and there's a whole system of like one day, an hour a day at each housing authority that people can just call, can someone help me with my trash, can someone help me with my laundry or whatnot, and she arranges all that for this homemaker that's there, so I love that program.
So it's a homemaker on
Yeah.
site?
On site,
Then
yes, an hour a
I've
day.
been here for
Yeah.
a lot of years and
And this isn't new?
No, I don't think it's that new, I mean, we didn't
Wow.
know
So this is
about
through
it.
South Shore Elder Services?
This is through, so it's
it's
a
at housing.
state-funded program, I believe, that puts Mary Ellen 2 days a week with us and 2 days a week at Braintree.
So she is the homemaker?
No, she's the
Coordinator.
coordinator, she is a nurse, I think she's a nurse.
I don't know what her.
Yeah, I believe she is a nurse, but she kind of plays bingo with them, she does, you know, she'll do like what Shine does, she'll help with mental health, she'll
Housing.
do blood pressure, like, yeah, amazing, so. What was that?
Ellen Scott.
Oh, Mary Ellen Scott, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and so then, South Shore Elder Services puts homemakers into?
So, I
wonder
didn't
if they would
ask
do it
her
for seniors.
exactly,
I
like,
mean, they do,
so- no, they do.
do that, they
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, that is part of the service
Mhm.
that they can coordinate, and that it's usually paid for through Medicaid,
Do you
through
have
a
to have, there's certain
pass-through in
qualifications?
the state. And
They would
there,
come out and
there are
give us a home
people,
assessment.
yeah, there are
Right.
people who have to be trained and certified in order to do it,
Oh,
but yeah.
it's a
The
great.
cool thing about this and what she's speaking of is that we get like last minute asks. And usually Kelly and I are the ones that are doing the asks.
right,
But we didn't know that this person, if we called them day of, had the availability
Right.
on those days. We just didn't know that.
Wow, and how did you find that out?
so we had a meeting, with, all the social work team, outreach, Mary Ellen, Colin from housing, and it kind of just came out in discussion of what kind of, we were trying to figure out what roles everyone played, and it was, that was
To
the
try
most
to avoid
informative.
overlap or
Right.
redundancy,
Right.
that was the reason they called the meeting, the housing
Yeah.
authority, but anyways,
We-
it was valuable.
Have been having a lot of discussions on streamlining and making sure that we aren't doing the
Right,
same
yeah.
things. Like, housing is housing, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't be doing housing things, if that's under their job umbrella, right? So like, then that opens up more time for us to help, you know, in other areas.
Yeah.
So just trying to
It's great.
collaborate.
Collaboration
better.
is the
Yeah.
key to
Yep.
efficiency.
No, it has been amazing, like, and I think we all work really well together. I started let's see, what else, the newcomers meet, we talked about that, the outreach support program. I mean, it's just there the second Thursday of the month. It's open
It's
if
brand
people
new.
wanna come in as a walk-in and just, you know, from 10 to 12. I don't really I get walk-ins all the time, they don't happen to be at that time, but it's there if someone wanted
So
to
is
do
this,
that.
so can you just explain a little bit, so this is for people that are caregivers, is it caregivers?
Not that one yet, the outreach support
So what
program,
is-
that one's just for anybody that needs any sort of assistance. Maybe they
Oh.
wanna know about boarding, maybe they wanna know about,
Okay,
you know, dementia, Alzheimer's, so there's a specific 2 hours that I set aside that you can just walk in and get information.
I get it.
Which Kelly has headlines.
Really?
Yeah, no,
The other one, the resources for caregivers, maybe that's one, that just started this month, that was amazing. It is in addition to what Suzanne offers for the caregivers, so she is a caregiver support program or group that meets on the third Wednesday of the month, I believe.
Yes.
And I didn't wanna take from hers, I wanted to be more of a resource person, so they came to mine and I had any kind of paper resources out there. The majority of the caregivers that were there were people with, their spouses or their loved one with Alzheimer's or dementia. But that being said, there was, you know, a person with cancer or their caregiver was cancer. So I had information for everybody.
So yours is more like, I need, you know, where can I go to find this, that, or the other?
Absolutely. And I mean, of course, you know, people will start talking and then, you know, it leads to conversations, which was very helpful for everyone. Lucille, because I planned mine to be right after drop-off of the social day
Oh,
program.
that's perfect.
So that it wasn't taking away from their 5 hours that they have of, you know, kind of to
time.
themselves. And they gave their feedback to Lucille that they, thoroughly enjoyed it, so it worked out well.
That's a great thing, because sometimes as a caregiver,
That's
it can be
what's the overwhelm-
overwhelming,
Oh, that's
like
right,
not
yeah.
knowing where.
And people don't understand that, they could try, someone that isn't a caregiver may not understand what this person, or even another family member, might not understand what they're going through. So, before they have like burn out from what they're doing, trying to explain, like, you need a break, you need to rely on other people. I'm like, I will come to your house. I will give you an hour, just call me, but you need to care for yourself.
Right. So-
And they were the participants in that monthly caregiver support group who have, well, I mean, it's grown recently, wasn't always very large, but it is facilitated by a professional. They were asking for a second meeting,
Right.
and this just fits the bill.
Perfect. So Suzanne is more like, sort of like you do
Mental,
with grief
yeah,
support,
yeah,
so
yeah.
this is more like support, like emotional,
Exactly.
mental health support.
Exactly.
Resource connection.
With like-minded, or like
Yeah.
people in the same situation,
Yeah.
which is
Right.
similar.
Collective pain, collective wisdom.
A lot of times people are in the group that knows of a resource. That
That's
would
the
be
other thing I was
helpful
gonna,
to
that's why I call it
Yeah.
collective wisdom, because
Yeah, right.
sometimes they
Good.
bring a
Yeah,
group of people together and somebody
Yeah.
says, oh, well, I use this, that, or the other, and it's like, oh, that's a new resource
exactly,
to
and we
put in your
learn from it.
file
Right.
cabinet.
Yeah.
No, I like trying to soak up anything I can, offer to people, so. And other than that, the handyman program's still the same, still reach out to Habitat for Humanity, they have their grant program, and that seems to work wonderful.
How many handymans do you have?
That I would use for regularly would be 2. And there have been a couple others that I could probably reach out to, but there are 2 specific that are very good. Not that the others wouldn't be, but they're always, yes.
But these two volunteered to us to volunteer for.
Right. So they're great. And then, like I said, working with the social work team, great. I continue to try and do any kind of programs or Zooms that I can to help. I did one the other day on the CHAMP application, and I found that very, helpful. Excuse me. Even though I do that a lot for people, but even some of the things that they were talking about, it was definitely interesting. I did the real estate tax exemption the other night, that was very helpful. I'm reaching out to people, trying to find more people that want real estate exemptions. And I did one on wills and trusts last night at the Red Lion. And that was
You're
interesting.
doing these
I
trusts
went to
yourself?
the Red Lion, I went to the one that was Law Moms,
Oh,
and it was interesting. They bring it really down to basics so people understand what they were talking about, and, I had thought maybe they would be good to have here, but they were too.
so you're sort of going around to some of these things to see if there's something you wanna bring in here as a
Absolutely,
resource.
absolutely, yeah.
Anything come up like with what's going on with the gas bills and
I mean,
the source?
the bills are supposed to come down this month.
But it's gonna go up in the summer.
In the summer, you're gonna, yeah. They're
So
gonna
they're
get.
not really, all they're doing is delaying the pay,
Right.
but
No, it's terrible, the
Taking
amount of
one and
people,
putting it in the other.
the amount of people that have come to me, we're trying to get fuel assistance help with, it's
it
awful.
must be through the roof.
Yeah, because their bills are like so
It's
crazy.
double, mine's
Absolutely.
doubled, but, yeah.
Yeah.
What do we offer? I see that you've got 5 people listed on your thing. What do we offer them in the way of fuel assistance?
Oh, well, we do it, it's through, a whole
Michael?
application through the South Shore Community Action Council.
Okay.
So we fill that out, I send it to them, I mean, that's the only thing I can do is help fill out the application, they make the determination as to yes or no. I also can help someone with the, Eversource or National Grid, I can fill out those for them as well. A lot of times they not so much South Shore Community Action, but the other ones really want the person to have some sort of, SNAP benefit, or, food, not food stamps, but if there was a child in the house, they would want them to be getting free lunches or whatnot. So it is a little tricky, but,
And or medical documentation
Right.
to prove,
yeah.
yeah, that you can't.
I mean, you
can't work or-
do have to give all your paperwork to them, you know, your social security, your birth certificate, your, the
Birth
social security
certificate,
award
yeah.
letter, everything, yeah.
So is that for LIHEAP? Is that what you're talking about?
Like, is it called?
Like-
Like,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
low income
Yeah.
housing,
Yeah.
I have a related
assistance
question.
program.
Are they still doing Obama phones? I noticed you have cell phone assistance here. Do they still do that?
They have, free phones for low income.
Yeah, so there's, because somebody asked me about it a
There's
couple
also
of weeks
free
ago and I didn't know
tablets.
anymore.
Yeah.
Free computers
Yeah.
for low income.
Okay,
I mean, on mine, the cell phone assistance is people that are just needing help navigating. That's
right,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
Like they deleted their email account and I helped them put it back on, or.
Okay,
Got
she's
it.
very handy.
You wanna come to my
Has
house?
lots of skills.
So I will turn it over to Eric.
There we go.
Um,
Trying to remember the last time you were here. It's probably been a year,
has it?
I
Feels
think.
like yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Extremely grateful to be here. I'm extremely grateful for Kelly and Linda, especially as of late. It's been pretty hectic managing the mental health needs in the community. Kelly definitely does not give herself enough credit. She is my right hand and definitely when it comes to mental health needs, I'm, really focusing on the crisis and, making sure everyone's stable and safe at home. And then Kelly helps assist with like referrals and resource connections. So we definitely work and are talking every day. And, we try to meet once a week in person or in Zoom with the social work team, which consists of myself, which I'm employed through Scituate, and then we are a part, Scituate is a part of a shared service public health grant that includes Hingham and Cohasset. So under the grant, we have a social worker and a case worker who helps with referrals, and she's like Kelly, but, does pretty much all.
So what
That's
towns
who
is
Sam
it?
is?
Samantha, yeah, yep.
What towns is it again?
It's Hingham, Cohasset, and Scituate. And the grant has been extremely helpful, so any, like police reports that come in, and if I can't manage, all of them that come in, and the social worker will step in, that is the, under the grant, and will help assist with following up on police reports and whatnot.
What is the demographic? Because I know when you first started going way back when, I think we met you during COVID on
Mhm.
Zoom, when you first started.
Wow, you have a great memory.
That was the first meeting. But what is your demographic now? Has it shifted? Because before it was like younger.
I would say a lot of my caseload is seniors right now.
That's what I was wondering.
With severe mental illness, believe it or not.
Wow.
And then dementia, Alzheimer's, seniors with, children that are adults with mental illness has definitely come up a lot. Then we have, individuals who are in homes that are unsafe and hoarding. So Kelly and Linda are part of what we call Unsafe Homes Coalition, which used to be the Hoarding Coalition. However, it's so broad, the safety issue. It's not just hoarding, there's so many other things that are going on for individuals who are isolated and living alone. So we meet monthly for the most part. And, we have identified homes and,
So these are people that are referred to you by either the police or
correct, yep. Or, a
family member or.
I have people that are neighbors calling and complaining, things like that. So they definitely come across the table in various ways. And housing at at the housing authority, so there are definitely homes that are identified that are unsafe.
Are you seeing an increase, because I know you talked about hoarding the last time you were here, I mean, are you seeing an increase in hoarding or an increase in suicidal attempts or, I mean, what is
So-
the trending?
So I will say, I don't know how to answer that, but hopefully we get an answer soon, because we do have, a health, survey that is being offered for residents to complete through the grant that is, BU is running.
Does everyone get that?
So we've been trying to really push it out, and we have, JD actually has been an extremely great help, in terms of getting the survey out, but,
The town did send out an email,
Yeah.
so you could have got that, we've had it here.
so we have hard copies here at the library, at the housing authority. Jim Boudreau announced it in his weekly update, it was sent, I don't know, it was like email blast?
Right, through the town.
Through the town, and my last attempt is going to be the food pantry, but I am extremely, grateful to say that Scituate had 351 responses,
Wow, that's great.
and then Hingham and Cohasset individually had about 80 each. So
Wow.
I'm very proud of Scituate right now.
Wow.
What is the total population in Scituate now, before the
Oh,
summer?
gosh.
What is the population?
I should know the answer
Oh,
to
it's
that.
18,000.
Yeah,
18,000.
it's been that for a long time, I
It,
think.
it has, and they
Yeah.
used to say it went up to 21 or something in the
Yeah.
summer, but I don't know if that's actually.
I've never seen the 21, but people have told me that.
And the
Oh,
number of
do they count
seniors
the
is
boat people?
6,600 maybe, but
6,600 over 65,
60.
60.
My, direct supervisor said we wouldn't get more than 10, and I was like, oh, yes, we will. My goal is 500, so we'll see if we get there, but.
Wow.
I've definitely, I'm shocked at the responses, because it's lengthy, but people are responding. So there is a hard copy downstairs.
Oh, okay, I'll take a look at that.
But any ideas on how to get it out to the community?
Get your 500.
And then what are you gonna do with the data?
So the hope is A, to be able to answer questions that you're asking, right? And then, with that, perhaps, get more positions and or, programs funded through the grant and or use that data to apply for additional grants.
So do you do any grant, I know you have no town,
Yeah,
but I mean, are there grants out there that you could, or is there somebody in your little coalition that does the grant writing?
so thankfully, I've had a lot of people in the community approach me in terms of, their concerns with mental health issues, what they're hearing, JD being one of them, and Paul Bolton, they're from the Rotary, we've been meeting, we probably met 3 times, to talk about, creating a mental health working group. I met with the clergy, as a group who are.
Like that clergy association for the South Shore?
Yep, for Scituate,
Right,
who are extremely interested in getting, their hands into like the mental health issues, because of course it's coming up
in confession.
yeah, well, yeah, so, we, JD, Paul, and I, and some additional people met with the Plymouth County Suicide Prevention Coalition. And we are in the talks of having, mental health first aid, and QPR, which is question, persuade, refer, which is a suicide, psycho ed program. And we did have that two years ago.
Was it
I
two?
think it was 2 years ago, and people seem to really like it, and I will say that in the
So
senior.
maybe something like a seminar or a workshop here? Or-
It's eye-opening. you know.
We're trying to like pinpoint, I try to make it simple, but,
Nothing is simple.
so we're working on it, we're meeting next week,
That's great.
to continue the planning. But completed suicides in the senior population are happening. also. Last year, there were 4, suicides in Scituate. I believe that was the number, not all seniors, but, I mean, just hearing one,
I know one of the women in my grief group, her brother just,
yeah,
so she lost her husband and her brother just,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Recent.
it's happening.
Yep.
And that was down in Paul.
There was 2, I don't know if I should, I mean, there were 2 recent ones, different ages, but,
Yeah,
yeah, it's overwhelming. The amount of crisis calls that are coming into the police station is extremely overwhelming.
wow.
And thank goodness for the grant, because, I mean, I wouldn't be able to,
Handle it.
yeah, and then when I hear of something happening, I panic, and I'm like, oh my God, I hope I got to that in a timely manner and did, you know,
Did what you,
what I could, but
yeah,
that fear definitely lives in me, because the need is extremely high. So Paul, with that said, is looking into additional grants,
nice,
to apply for and things, so we can use the survey data
to get more money.
Yeah.
Kenzie?
I have a question for either of you. When you said that you're following up police reports, I assume it means some of these seriously mentally ill people. But is it also for things like domestic violence or not?
So we actually work with, South Shore, Women's Resource Center.
And hang on.
Okay.
So those referrals go directly to that person.
Okay.
So I sometimes see domestic stuff,
But not usually.
but not usually, because they have an identified person. But there's a mental health liaison, which is Sergeant Arsenault, and then there is, like, specialties within the, police department. So they have, Officer Quinn does the domestic violence.
So there's always a dedicated
Correct.
officer who does domestic violence.
Yeah.
So at the Scituate police station, do they have a domestic violence liaison with the,
Yes,
South Shore?
yeah, and that person works with Officer
Okay.
Quinn.
Because I know that in the other communities that I've been involved with, that they have a liaison with
Yeah.
the police department. Does the fire department get involved at all? Probably after the fact,
No, I mean,
Not
most
in-
of my stuff comes
with the police.
with the police, but a lot, like the most elder stuff comes from fire,
Yeah,
because they're responding to falls
Yeah.
and whatnot. So they'll be the ones to say, hey, I came across this boarding home.
Ugh.
And Captain Bortolato and I do a lot of the follow-up on, you know, if someone calls and says they're worried about a neighbor or yada yada, we'll go in and knock. And we say, hey, do you have smoke detectors? Can we check them? Just to get our foot in the door, and usually they're more than welcome to have us in.
You know, one thing I just want to mention, which just came into my head, so one of the new ministries that we just started at St. Mary's
Mhm.
is an outreach ministry.
Oh, wow.
And the whole idea is to reach out to people that are, you know, living alone. And so they just had a meeting like a week or so ago. I mean, there's one woman started it, she came up with the idea and presented it to the
Yeah,
parish
amazing.
council, and, you know, we approved it, and then, and now it's starting to grow, and she has this whole team of people
Definitely.
from.
I have referrals.
That's what I was,
That's a
No,
So,
it'd be great to go to
I-
that meeting.
Yeah, I absolutely.
yeah,
have
so
people.
you know what, I mean, now that, this is the value of having you come, because it didn't, you know, like my brain just connected the dots. I should give you the contact information of the woman that is spearheading
That would
that,
be great.
because it would be really good, because they're gonna be going into homes.
Yep.
The same thing with St. Vincent de Paul, do you coordinate with them at all? Because-
Oh, we're in constant
Yeah.
communication.
Okay,
with them.
because I know but this is a different ministry, this is actually for people that are living alone and
Excavation, yeah.
just outreach, and then it's the same kind of thing.
Mhm.
They go in and then they may see
Right.
other things,
Yep.
so, okay, I'll make a,
Yeah, I will say, I've been covering Cohasset because we share services through the grant, and I'm just proud to work in Scituate, I really am. Everyone works so,
Well, we're proud to have you work in Scituate.
but everyone just works so great together, everyone really is just
Well, it's
special.
the community connection,
Yeah.
which I know is on our logo, but it really is true.
Yeah, no, it truly
It
is.
really is true. I tell people that all the time. I feel like
Everyone
really
is
lucky.
looking out for everyone, and everyone's kind and willing to help, and you don't get that necessarily in other communities.
no.
So, yeah, I'm really thankful for that. So we do have library drop in hours, on Mondays from 1 to 3. And then, we are starting to have the intern, my intern here on Wednesdays to have availability to help Kelly, because, you know, with applications and whatnot, you know, not.
What
I'm
is
sorry,
the
what was that,
library
the library?
drop? Yeah, I was just gonna ask that.
So essentially, it's just like what Kelly does, so from 1 to 3, if anyone has, a need, mental health need,
So so you're there from 1 to 3?
so the intern actually is there.
Oh,
So
okay.
she has, an assessment that she does, and then most of the time, I'm the one following up.
I see.
So it's
So,
more
but she's there at the library every day from 1 to 3?
Mondays,
Oh,
1 to 3.
Mondays, okay.
And then Wednesdays here, she will be available for the next couple of months to help Kelly, and then hopefully, come September, we will have
Another
a
one?
new intern where there's gonna be one day, hopefully, where she will be
Where
here.
did the intern from?
Bridgewater.
Nice.
So the current intern is, bachelor level, and then our fall intern will be master level.
That's perfect. That's great to coordinate with the colleges.
And I'm trying to, Suzanne, Ott is doing a boarding and treatment group,
Oh,
on Mondays. No, to be honest, I don't know them. It's pretty much
Yeah.
wrapping up, but it seems, from what I hear, it seems to be going
Yeah, people
well.
really enjoyed it.
So these are individuals who are hoarders or identify with, like, you know, struggling with clutter and whatnot,
Wow.
so,
we should all go.
That's the thing.
I still have stuff in bubble wrap from when I moved here 8 years ago.
I think, yeah, I think that's pretty much it, I don't know if anyone has.
Does anyone have any questions for Erica, other than all the questions we fired with already?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for all the work that you do, because I know it's overwhelming. It has to be overwhelming what's going on in society right now.
Absolutely.
It is. Yep, the news, I tell people to turn the news off.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, people are really struggling mental health wise, and their number one thing that they say is the news. Not all, that, I shouldn't say
No, but
that.
it's like every time, I stopped watching
Yeah.
local
Yeah.
news years ago,
Yeah.
because it's just like, it's too depressing.
Especially seniors are really scared right now, you know, for whatever reason, I'm not saying it's valid or not valid, they're scared. So
Yeah.
regardless of why, you know, with everything, all the conversations that are happening on the news, so.
Do we anticipate any reductions in our income or our funding for various programs as a result of the ongoing cuts?
I mean, from the state would be the only thing, and we will get less money next year, or this next fiscal year, but not significantly yet, but we got a lot, we got, $15 per elder, which again for the 6,600 more or less. And next year we won't get 15, they'll knock it down. So I don't know how much the state will be affected by what's happening in the federal.
Well, they're getting funded, the state is getting funded
Funded.
by federal, and they're
Right.
distributing.
So it's, right, so it'll trickle down eventually, but, so we already know it won't be as high next year, so this was the banner year. But otherwise, in the one town, you know, struggled and did pass a budget, but we hear about all the other towns who were going for overrides, just to balance the budget, and we did not have to do that, but who knows? Who knows?
I don't know if you agree, but I have not seen any one of the residents I'm working with be impacted financially, like funding,
Right.
like their benefits or anything like that. I haven't seen that. I think it's just the fear
It's
if
a
it's
fear,
if it's
Right.
coming.
Yeah.
I think there was a lot of talk that, things might change, but
Yeah,
really, they really haven't.
I have not seen it.
Medicare.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
hasn't,
Yeah, I think that's not gonna happen.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
so.
Yeah, but they're scared, so, we're just doing our best.
Yeah, well, you're both doing an unbelievably wonderful job, so
Absolutely.
thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
So, I think those are all the reports, correct?
They are, well, except for Kenzie.
Yeah, which I was gonna get to, so, well, Elaine is not here, but we already mentioned
Yeah, the one.
they're
upcoming.
gonna start doing more of those kinds of programs, which will be great. So Kinsey, you're up next.
Oh, thank you. The management restructuring is continuing, and they have frozen executive level salaries and hiring, just in case. And there's still uncertainty about what's happening at the federal level, and they've got, continuing meetings and conversations with people in Washington, our delegations, and also with their lobbyists who are working on behalf of the parent organizations of South Shore Elders. And the reimbursement portal is open, which probably everybody knows about, so people are able to access the money that they've already spent, pretty much. So that's a positive. But they have been speaking with the state, because they are going to be, they expect, affected by the changes at the federal level. They don't know how significantly yet. But representatives of the parent groups of South Shore Elders, and including people from South Shore, have spoken to HHS Secretary Kate Walsh, who briefed them on what was kind of happening at the state level. And she said one of the things they did prioritize was someone that they called new arrivers. So I'm assuming new arrivers are the population that has come in as refugees and immigrants that the state has made a concerted effort to take care of. So we know that they have been spending a considerable amount of money, and if that is going to continue, and we don't know whether it will, then that will impact other services. So Kate Walsh did say, don't provide any non-reimbursable services. So that means if you don't have the money for it, don't do it, pretty much. And there are lots of services like that.
But isn't that true for anyone in their regular personal budget?
Except for the federal government, apparently with their USAID, because they've already gotten the services and are refusing to reimburse. So if they're doing that to such a large agency, then a small agency really has to be very conservative about what they provide.
Right. Who are your parent organizations? You mentioned that a couple of times. You said parent organizations.
Yeah, the statewide organizations that are like umbrella organizations.
So who oversees elder services at the state level?
At the state level, Health and Human Services,
Okay.
yeah. And that's why it's so important that they spoke with her, because she is the person who knows, pretty much.
So she's like the
And
executive office of.
I can tell you, yeah, I can tell you from working with state government and local governments and big city governments, that you never get the whole picture because they don't know the whole picture. So you have to give what you know at the time that presents a general picture of what could happen, but you can't get specific about it because you don't know,
Right.
you know? But you do have to let people know because these are people who are providing direct services to seniors every single day. So things like home-based services that we talked about a little bit earlier, Meals on Wheels. Like they're looking at like what could we do to continue to provide these services without harming the elders who are actually getting them. So some of the things they could do is maybe charge a nominal fee for people who don't pay anything for their home delivered meals. Or asking for some kind of small copay for people that are getting home-based services for their families and loved ones.
I thought they always had.
Yeah, they
It's
do,
always
but
been a
you know,
sliding scale.
there's like, there is a sliding scale, and the scale can go
Up
up,
and down.
and they haven't done that.
Mhm.
But it is one of, I mean, those are the kinds of things that they're looking at, because they don't want to stop any service. But the other thing that could possibly happen is you just make a waiting list, and you don't take on new clients for any of those services where you're not sure you're going to ever be reimbursed. And I think at this point, everybody's thinking that there are going to be those services. They are concerned about nutrition a lot because of, there are already some cuts to the programs that provide food for pantries, food pantries, and also for school lunches, so they can go to farmers and other providers within 400 miles and get fresh food for the food pantries and for the school lunches. And that program has already been significantly decreased. So that's gonna have an immediate impact on services. And I would guess, I don't know this to be true, but I would guess that the organizations that provide the Meals on Wheels, which are usually large religious organizations like Lutheran Family Services, Catholic Services, Jewish Community Services, they will also be affected by that. And that's where they get a lot of their fresh food from, either free or at reduced rates. So, I mean, you always think, oh, it's gonna trickle down eventually, but this is a trickle down that is almost here, you know? And it does affect the people that we all deal with all of the time. So I hate to be the harbinger of bad news.
Some of the SNAP stuff is being affected
Well,
already.
SNAP stuff is in agriculture, it's not in human services. And people who get SNAP are low income, usually in other services that are provided by the federal government or the state government. So, and the food that they get comes from the supermarket. So they'll just get less for the money that they have to spend. So they won't get the $4 eggs anymore, they'll get the $10 eggs, right? Or they'll get 6 instead of 12.
My niece works for a contractor who services the SNAP stuff, and about half of their people are being let go.
Yeah.
So a lot of those programs are going to be affected.
Yeah, and you know, you can see that everywhere. It's just that you see certain things on the news and you don't see everything on the news, which is probably good, because we'd all be going to some place to talk to somebody. But yeah, and SNAP also is going to be affected by the fact that agriculture has already stopped reimbursing farmers for growing certain things. And many farmers are dependent on things like USAID, where they're exporting to other countries, and also things like SNAP and this other program for school lunches and for other
Thank you.
food pantries. So it's already out there, it's just, you know, it hasn't trickled down this far yet. But we will all be seeing that soon, I expect. unless something changes, and it doesn't seem as if there are any of those kinds of changes on the horizon. So, but I will keep you posted if I hear anything specific, that will come through, because I don't know anything about housing, that's like, I know nothing about housing. But I think that housing is also going to be affected, and I'm gonna try to learn more about that, so that I can bring it back for us.
Thank you, Kenzie. Any questions for Kenzie? So, any other business, old or new, that anyone wants to bring up or needs to bring up?
The lunch and learn programs that are coming up, are they, like, you go to, where, how would that take place? Where do you get the lunch? Do you bring your lunch?
They bring the lunch, so it's usually one of the resources that wants to talk and
Oh, and they
inform.
bring a lunch?
They bring lunches that they usually have sandwiches catered from one of the area supermarkets or something, so.
That's
Very nice.
We do it up here, well, they can only do it on a Friday because otherwise we have lunch, or I suppose they could, but, so that's the way it works, so there is one tomorrow.
How do I sign up for that?
You just
Better
want a
follow
free
me
lunch.
downstairs, I think, so I can put your name on the list.
That'd
I
be
mean, I'm
great.
sure she's already given a number, but, it's probably okay.
I'll just sit in and listen.
Well, you can, but I'll,
Bring your lunch.
And you can bring your own lunch.
Yes, indeed.
but you, well, actually, we are selling lunches too, so if there were ever not enough, but they always bring way more than they need, so I'm sure it's fine.
Very good.
I was wondering, do we have extra classroom space so that if there was a class that wanted to be a weekly 1 hour class,
Mhm.
it would be able to be fit in, or?
Well, sometimes
Are we
it
pretty
can be tricky,
booked?
but like right now, you know, the religion class on Monday mornings, I mean, that's a good spot. And so he can continue, but there wouldn't be a Tuesday, Thursday right now because of AARP, and there's not always this room available, so it depends.
Yeah,
But, yeah, I mean, absolutely, something that we come up with that we want to be,
Yeah.
make weekly. Yes, we were looking into somebody that wanted to do something, some it's just a one-off, even that, where do we put them?
mm-hmm,
You know, when is the
And
room,
when,
when is
yeah.
the room free?
Because there are some days that are more free
Yes.
than others, or certain times that are more free than others.
So it's a little puzzle, but yes, that's what, that's kind of what we.
You know, the library has some rooms,
Oh, they
all
do,
sorts of rooms.
they
Yeah.
do.
They do, yeah.
But we're talking about a program or a program
Yeah.
here.
yeah.
Why, do you have a program in mind?
No,
Oh.
but I was thinking like if we could get like another art or
Yep.
some type
Oh,
of thing in.
absolutely. Yes.
That's open for.
Or even also like the lifelong learning.
Yeah, I don't have
things
anything
that
to
we
do.
talked about, maybe getting that.
I thought you were
But
going to.
now I'm gonna,
Yeah, it really would, for the mind.
Someone asked me the other day, newly eldered, just had a birthday, if we ever did nighttime classes.
yeah, that's been,
Well, that's where I
Talked
think
about
we're
it.
headed, or really just one, I mean, just the idea that maybe if it was, we'd say, the lifelong learning, but maybe a music class, which I did try to put together, so that might be appealing at
With
night
some
to
of
the
the
younger
exercise
audience as
classes?
well.
Yeah, exercise was what.
And line
younger,
dance, for
yeah.
instance, because
Yeah.
that would draw, so yes, I mean, we have the 4 o'clock yogas, which started as 4:30, you know, we have the tab, we have, so, starting, but not nighttime yet.
and so then who has to close up the building and all, and make sure everything's locked up at that point? Would it be,
Well, the way that's worked for at least me, I mean, it's not new now, so some of the committees who've been coming in are really self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And it's not a hard lift. So usually, I have the doors automatically opened and locked. So
Oh.
if they know where they're going and they don't need any other special help, then it's fine.
So they
Sometimes
just come in
They
and
just
then,
come in, they know where they're coming into this room, they know how to hook up the computer.
yeah, because I know, I mean Gail's evening class that she
Yeah.
teaches at rec,
Right.
which, yeah, I mean, like an evening yoga class would probably
Yes.
take
I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
first
think
couple of
so.
times maybe I'd be
Yeah.
here, but not really.
Yeah.
No.
And that could be something, if it were a nighttime class, that would be something that you could ask for the money up front,
Mhm.
because it would be a
Oh,
different
true. Yes,
demographic
good point.
than you would get in the daytime.
That's a good
Yeah.
point. And maybe we would run it as a 6-week or an 8-week,
Yeah,
which has also been
exactly.
suggested, we just haven't done it, but that's
Right.
like what we should.
oh, so you paid for the whole course?
Well, it's an idea,
Yeah,
might be.
Well, that's,
I mean, at least then,
Yeah.
you know that it's
I
gonna
think-
run the full course.
I think it's an
And
excellent
that you'd have the money to pay.
I mean, the drop-in's always been the luxury, but frankly now they have to register anyway, just sometimes to make sure there's room, sometimes to make sure we have enough people. So we are asking that, they might as well,
Hey.
you know, lock in.
Yeah.
Is Hingham still doing, there's a program at UMass Boston where they do classes
Yes.
for seniors and stuff like
I
that?
think they do still, the Ollie, that's the Ollie.
Yes, yeah, the Ollie.
I think they
Harvard
do
does
still
it
do it
too.
at the library,
MIT
but
does it. They
Oh,
all,
it's at the
they all do
library.
it, Harvard and MIT do
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
and I don't know who else, but
What do they do?
classes,
it's the OLLI, Ollie.
Ollie classes.
It is a lifelong
It's-
learning.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that seems like, I
And the
don't see
idea
it being
for-
done here in Scituate.
Right, the idea,
No,
well,
it's just, like Braintree has it, according to what kind of facilities you have.
Mm.
that was the impetus really
No,
for,
but we don't have them vacant, you know?
Well, in the evenings we do, right?
the idea is that you don't necessarily wanna have to travel to Boston or
They're
Braintree, but-
during the day.
Oh, they are during the day?
Yeah, they're not really, I don't think so, I get their programs.
This is
Okay.
Braintree Senior Center?
No, the library has it.
The library has what?
Hingham, these classes, Ollie.
Oh, I know.
And,
But-
I know Hingham has them. But it's not night, geared to be night.
It's not an evening class,
No.
I
okay.
think it's a little varied, or maybe it used to be more so, but it was the senior center, but they did them at the library because the senior center was.
It was not,
It was the senior center doing some of these classes at
the
the Hingham Library.
Cause they were
Yeah.
wired for it
Yes.
and everything.
But I don't know currently how robust it is, but they do
it
post some things
seems
here.
less, all of a sudden what's offering, you can go to UMass Boston, that's another location.
Who wants to
I'm
go
just,
to Boston?
those are the
Well,
ones
that's
I'd go
what
to.
I was gonna say.
But, it seems like less that are being offered,
Mhm.
because those are usually, the Ollie is volunteer educators that give their time,
Oh,
you know?
That I don't know.
What does
So-
Ollie stand for?
I can't remember I can't. Something
So
lifelong
the
learning
LL is
institute.
lifelong.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
I can't remember
The
the.
O is
Education.
for someone's name.
Very good, yes, that's very good.
Because
So that was the impetus in Duxbury way back, is someone, one of our senior, senior patrons, and had said, we need to do that, we don't wanna go to Boston for that class, we might not wanna go at night, we wanna stay local, but we want the same caliber of course, information. So that's where they started it, as a committee, it was
It
great.
stands for Other Lifelong Learning Institute.
Huh.
Oh, no, OSHA. OSHA Lifelong Learning Institute.
Anyway, and everybody's picked it up sort of in a different way, not everybody does it the same way. Right now, we were just doing a mishmash, but we could make it much more organized and, under the label and the umbrella.
Just throw it on Gail's desk.
Well, like that class on religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
that
that's
is
a
what it is,
perfect one,
it's
yeah.
just that it's just like, and Bob's, we've always had Bob Jackman, who's just been our lifelong learning, basically, that's what people feel they're getting, and that's been
And the
very.
art stuff, art for your mind.
Art for your mind, yeah.
But not having.
Just not
Not the
packaging,
umbrella.
Packaging it as
Yeah.
a lifelong learning, which is
Which-
on,
which we should do.
yeah, it's on
It's
the
on
list.
the
It's on the list. All right, if there's no other questions, input, comments, whatever,
Move to adjourn.
yes, anyone second?
Second.
Adjourn.
Thank you, thanks for taking the
Thank
minutes,
you all.
Pat.